So here we are talking about factory overhead again, but we're going to take a little bit of a different direction because if you're reading along in your textbook, they talk about different types of overhead. So let's explore that a little more, okay? All right, so factory overhead, just by definition, we said in a prior video, or what we know about it, is that factory overhead is different from direct labor and direct materials because it cannot be traced back to the job. It's indirectly related to a job. So again, what makes factory overhead different from direct labor and direct materials is its traceability. All right. So factory overhead costs, again, cannot be identified or traced back to a specific job. And we said in the last video, those type of expenses would include indirect materials, indirect labor, the factory power, depreciation, right? All of those are considered indirect labor costs, right? So as a result, if you have a particular job, we realize that every job is consuming a portion of the factory's we recognize that every job is consuming a portion of, utilities, depreciation, so forth and so on. So give me a second, let me show you, let me try to illustrate this. So imagine you have, say, for instance, close to, I don't know, $3 million in factory overhead. Right, that's going to be my factory overhead, right? And that factory overhead, remember, includes your indirect labor, such as the supervisor. Let's just keep him or her, for example. However, it's about supervisor, you get what I'm saying. And then you're going to have some indirect materials, right? And then we already said the indirect materials, for example, could be like strings. And then you're going to have I can't spell today. Sorry, guys. All right, hold on. Okay, some strings. All right, and then we have utilities, right? All right, my pen is not working. Utilities. You get what I'm saying? If my pen works. And then we maybe also have depreciation, right? All right, so all of this for the entire year, this is our total factory overhead. Now remember, you have throughout the year all of these different jobs, right? They're all whatever, right? Maybe you have these in the thousands. Maybe you're 71, 72, 73, right? On and on and on, right? And so what we're saying is we can allocate direct materials and direct labor to all of these jobs. But how do we know how much each job is consuming of a supervisor's time, of the strings, of the depreciation utility? How do you determine how much each job is consuming of that, right? You don't know. You don't know specifically. So the way we're going to figure this out, or the way we're going to go about doing this, is we're going to allocate this $3 million some kind of way. We're going to allocate it to each of these jobs in some kind of way, right? Hopefully that's making sense to you. Every job is going to get its fair share of this $3 million. Everybody with me? Every job, 71 through however many jobs, everyone will take their fair share of this $3 million of indirect labor, indirect materials, depreciation, and utilities. All right. So how do we divvy it up? We need a common basis, right? We need some kind of allocation to do so, all right? And so this is where cost allocation comes in. It's the process by which factory overhead or other costs are assigned to a cost object or maybe a job, all right? So for some companies, we're gonna define it as an activity base. We're gonna divvy up that $3 million based on what runs the facility. And the three most common activity bases for a job or for a facility is these. I'm gonna switch and do another one. So the three most common the 3 most common activity bases. Come on. Activity basis is here. Number 1. The number 1 is direct labor hours. Number 2 is direct labor costs. And number 3 is machine hours. These are your most common activity basis. Now, okay, if you don't understand quite what I mean by activity basis, what I mean is what is driving the cost at the facility. Meaning, if this facility, if this particular thing or what have you did not report, or if it was shut down or what have you, could your facility still operate? Okay, so a good example of this is a facility that requires a lot of labor. Now, in that particular case, the direct labor hours would be considered, the direct labor hours would be considered the activity base, because if those people did not show up, then you could not produce product, right? All right, what about if you have a facility that's mainly like a Tesla, for instance, and their facility is mainly robotic, right? So what happens if all of your computer systems are down? Could you manufacture Teslas? If the answer to that question is no, then that is probably your activity driver. It is what's driving costs. And if it didn't work or if it didn't show up, then you would have a problem. That is the driving costs at your facility, okay? So for the most part, most manufacturing facilities, they all fall within these 3 parameters: direct labor hours, the direct labor costs, or machine hours, okay? All right. So moving on. So with that, I'm gonna end this video, because I don't want to go over time, but I'm gonna end this video and then I'm gonna talk about how we come up with a predetermined factory overhead.